if I was to start a new startup today, I would actually not care about SEO at all. I would only focus on GEO.
Hi everyone, welcome to BerlinBiz. Today I have a very interesting topic for my interview. Today we are talking about how to be visible in the age of AI search. But first I have a question to you. When was the last time when you searched on Google? And when was the last time you asked ChatGPT instead? More and more people turn to ChatGPT as the first place to get the answers. And ChatGPT today gets more than 5 billion visits every month. It means the topic how to be visible in the age of AI search is very interesting, very useful today. And for this topic, I invited a very interesting guest. His name is Malte Landwehr. He leads marketing and product at Peec AI, fast-growing company that focuses on visibility in the age of AI search. And he's a regular speaker on conferences, and he has a very interesting blog on LinkedIn about this topic. So today will be very interesting. And for those who are new on my YouTube channel, my name is Hanna. I'm from Ukraine. I run my own digital marketing agency, and I'm a creator of YouTube channel BerlinBiz, where I explore business opportunities and startup scene in Berlin and Germany. And today we are talking about how to be visible in the age of AI search. Let's get started.
I'm Malte from Peec AI. We are currently 20 people and we want to grow to 60 people over the next 6 months. And so we're having a lot of hiring and recruiting going on right now. Germany is our largest market because of our home bias at the beginning, but we are actually pretty international, focused on the US and Europe with roughly a 50-50 split. Our largest customer is actually based in the US.
Malte, thank you so much for joining us today. We have such an exciting topic for our conversation. I would like our viewers to get to know you better. Maybe you could tell us about your background. You have worked in SEO over 20 years, and you are a very good specialist in this field. So tell about your background.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Malte. I became an SEO, I would say, a bit by accident. I had a website when I was 14 years old, and then people were finding it via Google, which I didn't expect. So I started to dig into that, understand it. Then went on, started a blog that actually became one of the 50 largest blogs in Germany. Studied computer science, co-founded an SEO agency that doesn't exist anymore. And then always had jobs that were somehow revolving around SEO, often with a focus on product management. Spent the last 5 years at Idealo, a large price comparison website in Europe. And yeah, now I ended up here at Peec AI as the Chief Product and Chief Marketing Officer.
We met each other at the event. You were one of the speakers on this event, and I remember the numbers, the presentation from this event. And people told from the stage that today ChatGPT grew from 50 million to 800 million weekly active users in just 2 years. What do you think? What does it mean today for businesses? How you can comment these numbers?
Yeah, I mean, clearly that is a large user base. And it's also, like, I think, a very interesting and valuable user base because people don't use ChatGPT like a search engine where they just want a recommendation and then click on a link to read something. But they use ChatGPT to get advice and to get answers. So the whole user journey is happening in the chat potentially. And that is, of course, a very, very big topic for many companies. We already have customers who get 20-25% of their leads via ChatGPT.
How should companies think about visibility today compared to the traditional SEO?
Yeah, I mean, in traditional web search, it's very simple, right? You have a keyword and then a list of URLs, and they are clearly ordered, so you can just look at it and say, I'm position 2, I'm position 3. But with LLM-based answer engines, you don't just get a list of URLs. I mean, there's also a list of URLs for the sources, but nobody goes there, almost nobody clicks there. What you get is a written answer that can mention multiple entities. Some of these entities might be your own brand or your competitors or your products or competitive products. So it's the first thing is it's much much more difficult to get like an actual ranking of results. You just have an answer, either you are included or not. And then a second step, you can check if multiple brands are included in the answer, is my brand the first one? Or is there a positive sentiment around my brand versus a negative sentiment around other brands? So I think that is the biggest differentiator. And then, of course, with SEO for Google, it was very easy that Google would give us the search volume of a keyword. And there are keywords like Apple AirPods Pro that actually thousands of people type into Google every single day. So if I just monitor this one keyword, I more or less can measure what thousands of other people saw that day. With LLMs, first of all, we don't get any kind of real search volume. We can only estimate it from the outside. And the second thing is, most prompts are unique. So yes, there are prompts like, hello, thank you, please try again. Those have a high prompt volume, so to speak, but otherwise prompts are a very, very unique thing. So you cannot actually measure one prompt and that shows you the exact same thing that 1,000 other people are seeing. And then the second thing is Google search results were somewhat deterministic, or they are somewhat deterministic. So if I search the same thing 3 times, I get more or less the same results. Also multiple people searching for something, they get more or less the same results. With LLMs, if you and I ask the same question, and each of us ask it 3 times, we will probably get 6 different answers. I mean, of course, if we ask something very specific, like what's the date today, we get the same answer. But with open questions, there's a huge variance. So this inherent non-deterministic aspect of LLMs adds another level of complexity, meaning that we always need to look at an aggregate of prompt results, either over time, over multiple prompts that are similar. And in general, we need to get away from this keyword-based system, but we rather need to think, I have a topic and maybe a context and maybe a user persona. And for this combination, I can create a set of prompts and I can measure how visible I am, but I will never have the same perfect level of visibility that I could reach with SEO, Google, and typical keyword rank tracking tools.
Mm-hmm. So today, a lot of things depends from the prompt. If
Yes.
prompt is different, so we can get different result. Interesting. So what do you think, how can company make its website easier for ChatGPT? And what are the first simple steps you could recommend?
Yeah, so I think the first big difference to SEO is also, for some topics, it's actually not about your website, but rather how the internet talks about you. So if we just look at your website, the most important thing is allow ChatGPT to crawl it. Don't block their crawler with something like Cloudflare. The second thing is you actually have to rank in Google, in Bing, in these search engines that are used for the grounding process. So that is the foundation. If you don't show up there, you will not show up in the LLMs as a source. And then make sure some background, most LLM crawlers are not rendering JavaScript. So make sure to not hide important content behind JavaScript. Either you do server-side rendering or do something else that makes sure that the initial important content is in the initial HTML that you are sending. That's for your website. Now, for things outside of your website, the first thing I always recommend to small brands, especially like people brands, like where one person can also be a brand, or very tiny startups, is describe yourself consistently. So let's say you are an SEO agency for lawyers, and that's what you write on your homepage. Then don't go to your LinkedIn profile and say, I give visibility to legal companies, and then put a press release where you say, I'm an SEO consultant for law offices, but be consistent. You're an SEO agency for lawyers, so this sentence should be wherever you have a presence, and that often helps LLMs a lot to actually understand what your brand is about. And I've seen it work for people where literally you used to ask ChatGPT, who is, I don't know, Frank Müller, and then it would say, there are like multiple people. Do you mean the soccer player from the 3rd Bundesliga in Germany? But when they start describing themselves, then the LLMs, the very next day, they start saying, yeah, it's this freelance photographer from Berlin, for example, because he specifically described himself as a freelance photographer from Berlin consistently in all of his online presences. And then the next step is type a couple of prompts into ChatGPT, Gemini, and look at the sources. And then click on those and see, are you present there? And do you have a way to be present there? And then take it from there. Basically, be visible on the sites that the LLMs are citing.
What kind of content or structure helps AI models pick up information from the site? Are there specific formats that work better today?
Yeah, so the first thing about content formats is content formats have an impact on whether you are used as a source in the first place. And what many LLMs are doing right now is they love listicles. If you ask something like, what's the best CRM software for a dentist? They will do a fan-out query like CRM software dentist 2025 or best CRM software for dentists. So typical articles, these typical listicles with like top 10 CRMs for dentists, they are what are used as the source. That is like the first thing. Listicles work very well, and having the word 2025 in the title works very, very well at the moment. This will maybe change to 2026 soon. We will see on what date the LLMs actually adjust their fan-out queries. And then the next thing is, in your content, make sure you have 1 or 2 or 3 sentences that are citable, because the LLMs, when they do web search and their grounding process, they don't actually take your whole article. There's a pre-selection to take certain paragraphs and use them to generate the answer. So have very condensed, very concise information. What really helps to write like that is to have a question and answer structure. So either your subheadlines are questions and you answer them, or you have just frequently asked questions on the bottom. Not because the LLMs don't understand a big part of content, not because they can't find the relevant content in the longer text, but because it makes it easier as a human when you write to force yourself to really put everything into 2 or 3 sentences without distractions, without talking about a different topic. Just have something very focused, very concise that the LLMs can cite and use to generate their answer. And what also helps with this is summaries. If you have a very long article, just put a summary on top. 2 or 3 sentences works very, very well. It often forces you to write in a way that you have a text snippet that the LLMs can just cite. I've even seen websites have success when they have a very long paragraph. Just put a 1-sentence summary on top. And also images that are important, charts, diagrams, tables. Yes, LLMs can understand them. But when you perform a web search, the LLM wants to answer quickly, like ideally within a second or 2. So they are not gonna do the big multimodal analysis of all the pictures in your article or your charts. So it can be really, really helpful to write a summary of a table, for example, in your content. That is often what the LLMs cite. The important part is, let's say you have a table with all the capitals of the states of Germany and then the development of the number of inhabitants. Don't describe the table. Don't put a sentence like, this is a table with the number of inhabitants from blah, 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 what I just said. That's not helpful. There's no reason to cite that. But what you could write is, this table from this and this agency shows that of all the federal state capitals of Germany, Berlin is the fastest growing one and Hanover is the slowest growing one. Like basically summarize the insight that a human would get from the table, because that again is now a sentence that's very, very citable, very quotable. And I think that is the most important thing about content. There's a big debate in the SEO scene about chunking, like if it's needed to chunk your content or not. And both sides are somehow right. Like, yes, the LLM can extract the most important content from a long paragraph, but also as a human, when you write, or also when you instruct an LLM to write your content, with the summary structure, this question-answer structure, you force yourself to write in the way that the end result is very citable, very quotable content.
Yeah, super. Thank you for this detailed information. I wanted our video would be very useful for entrepreneurs and founders and for everyone who care about visibility today in this era of AI search. After this event, we met each other. I made a post on my LinkedIn, and my post was like SEO become GEO. Do you think we could say today that really in the future there are no traditional SEO and we will deal with a GEO? And can you explain in simple words what does it mean, GEO?
Yeah, so I think many people believe that we need a new term because SEO was about optimizing URLs, it was about optimizing keywords, it was about optimizing for systems that are based on an index of web documents. And the goal of the channel was to get a click. And then your website played a huge role, conversion optimization on your website played a huge role, but the channel actually brought clicks very top of funnel. And with LLMs, this is now changing because suddenly the whole user journey is happening in the chat. The end result is no longer a click to your website, it's a recommendation. It's even a decision sometimes in the consumer's mind. And then they only come to your website for the final transactional step. So from the perspective of companies, it's a very different marketing channel. And you are suddenly tasked with optimizing entities. Yes, there are keywords and they play a role, and there are URLs and they play a role. But the main thing you're optimizing, your main objective is suddenly different. You are influencing customer decisions. You are no longer getting traffic to a website. And on an operational level, there is an at least 80% overlap in the activities that you do. Especially if we ignore how we prioritize them, it's maybe even a 90% overlap. So there are some people that say it's just SEO, but I think they are missing the point in terms of what is the relevance for the company and what is actually the goal. And there are people who think we need a new term to make it clear that this is new. And GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, is one of these terms. There's also AEO, Answer Engine Optimization. Personally, I don't care what term we use in the end. I just know the role of SEOs, if we want to stick with that term, is changing significantly with the switch from web search to answer engines. And I think a new term can help to make that change more clear. If in 5 years we all just start calling it SEO again because these traditional web search engines don't exist anymore, or if we then all say it's answer engine optimization, it's GEO, that has to be seen. I don't know the future of that.
Yeah, and what do you think? Is GEO something companies need to care about right now, or is it still too early?
Many companies need to care about it right now, especially B2B services and B2B SaaS companies. There are many examples of companies get 20% of their leads from ChatGPT. They don't see it in their web analytics because there's no link to click in ChatGPT, but they see it when they ask customers, where did you hear about us? A significant part will say, I heard about you in ChatGPT. I think the highest number I've seen was 35% for one company. And if I was to start a new startup today, I would actually not care about SEO at all. I would only focus on GEO or AEO or whatever you want to call it. And by doing that, I would, of course, do many of the typical SEO tasks. But for my success measurements, for my goals, I would only think about GEO because these free clicks from Google, where you see 10 blue links, all of that is going away. Maybe not 100%, but it becomes less and less and less. And more people will get their answers from LLM-based answer engines, where there are very few links to click. And I just need to adapt to this new reality.
So right now.
Right now, yes.
Definitely. The next question I have is a more from marketing perspective. So how do you think, how can smaller companies compete with the big brands when it comes to visibility? For example, on social media today, the algorithms works a bit differently. So they are interest-based. It means that new creator who has no big follower base have a chance to go viral, to reach the new audience. So what could you tell about GEO? Are there some chances for startup founders and small businesses in terms of visibility?
Yes, there are many chances. Of course, if I want ChatGPT to recommend me as the #1 hotel booking platform or the #1 CRM, I have a huge problem versus established brands, right? Like the Salesforces and Airbnbs and Booking.coms of the world, they will beat me. But if I offer something unique, I can very quickly dominate the prompts for that space. Like, let's say I do vacation rentals worldwide for people who travel with a hamster, to take an absurd example. I'm the only one offering this. If I do everything right, it should take me not more than 48 hours to be the brand that ChatGPT recommends for this. I need a website. I need it to be indexed in Bing and Google. And I've seen examples where people just had one link from one other website and then wrote very, very citable, very, very quotable content. And that was immediately picked up by LLMs. So if I offer something unique and I describe that correctly and accurately on my website, on my LinkedIn profiles, on 2, 3, 4, 5 places on the internet, I can immediately become visible for my very specific niche. But for large topics like CRM or broad topics like CRM, hotels, vacation rentals, established brands will just beat me. But it's the same in SEO.
Have to be more specific.
Yes, be very, very precise and specific.
And to have your own niche, people
Yes.
say. Yeah, okay. So let's speak about something in general. If a company wants to prepare for the AI search future, what are the first 2-3 things they should focus on?
I think the first thing is understand your current visibility in the market. Like, do LLMs recommend you? Do they recommend competitors? You can do that manually. You can use a software like Peec AI, for example, for that. And the second thing is understand the sources that are being used by the LLMs. And if there are sources that you see again and again and again, are you visible there? And if you're not visible there, can you be visible there? And do you have a strategy to become visible? So for example, if you're in a space where, let's say you do Gen Alpha jewelry or cosmetics for Gen Alpha, you will see that all the LLMs, they cite Instagram and TikTok. These are the top sources. You need a strategy to be visible there, either with your own channel or by working with creators, but you need it. It's a must if you want to be visible in AI search. For other topics, you will see that typical journalistical website, news and media publishers, they are being cited. Then you need a strategy to be visible there, either with digital PR or with good relations with journalists, or what works still right now is also buying advertorials. But you need a strategy. And I think that is the number one thing. Understand where LLMs for your specific niche get their information. And yes, there are best practices like Wikipedia, Reddit, YouTube. But actually in many, many niches or countries, what you need is very different from that, and you need a strategy to be there and be visible there. Those are like the first things I would do. And then, as I said earlier, describe yourself consistently across the internet.
So, and what kind of mistakes do you observe company makes when they try to adopt their website to AI-driving systems?
The biggest mistake is not doing anything, just thinking nothing will happen. That's the biggest mistake I see most often. A second big mistake is saying, yeah, it's just like Google and it will all work out. We do SEO, that will be enough. Sometimes you get lucky and it is enough, but sometimes you don't get lucky. And I have a good story for that. We have a customer. He's a financial services company in the US. And they dominate Google, they dominate Bing, they are super, super visible. But Perplexity didn't recommend them at first. But their website was being cited. And what happened is they had this article on their website that said, hey, we are not the right partner for everyone. Here are 5 competitors you can work with. And because they did everything right in SEO, their website was used as a source. But then the Perplexity found other entities being recommended there. So it recommended these other entities. And they made a tiny change. They changed the headline of that list and put themselves on position 1. And now they're the most recommended brand by Perplexity for their prompts. And this shows to me that, yes, you can do everything right in SEO. If you miss a tiny thing, it can completely ruin your visibility. So that is like the first thing, or the like another mistake where the thing you need to change is to adapt. And then other changes are to be too focused on your own website, because there are niches, especially if you have very problem-driven top-of-funnel searches or prompts. The LLMs don't want to cite your company websites. They want to cite general sources, a Reddit, a YouTube, a blog, a news and media website, university websites. So you need a strategy to be visible there. It's sometimes not all about your website.
There are so many CEO specialists on the market. I meet them very often at events, but today definitely we need a GEO specialist. How I can recognize that this person is really professional in this area, and what kind of questions I can ask to understand if the people really deal with GEO?
Honest answer, I wish I knew. People can have very different understanding of the space and be successful in their area. And I don't have a clear set of questions I would always ask them. I would try to understand what is their grasp of the space and can they connect it to business goals? Do they understand that there are fundamental differences to SEO? I would immediately disqualify anybody who says it's just like SEO because
Yes,
clearly...
because these kind of answers I got very often.
Yeah, but I think it's a reflex, right? People want to be defensive and protect themselves. And the reality is SEOs are the best equipped people to deal with also visibility in AI search because there's such a huge overlap. You have a similar challenge that there's a black box and you need to reverse engineer how it works. So I think SEOs who actually embrace this shift, they are doing very, very well. I see that with some of our agency clients, but there are also SEOs who get defensive and they say, it's just like SEO. But like, yeah, maybe for what you do on a daily basis, it's very much the same. But for how the CEO, the CMO, even investors of the company think about the topic, it's very, very different. And people need to acknowledge that and be prepared for that change. But coming back to the original question, especially if you yourself are not an expert on the space, I think it's always very difficult to understand if someone else is an expert. And it's especially difficult in this space because it's evolving and we don't know yet what is the truth, what is the right answer. So I think there can be very different perspectives on GEO that are all turn out to be enough to be successful in a certain niche for a certain customer. So no good answer from my side on this question.
Yeah, and how do you think GEO will replace CEO in the future? Do we still need CEO specialists?
I think it will merge. It will be one and the same at some point, and we will give it one term or another. But definitely there are SEO tactics that will remain relevant, also in an AI-driven search world. But yeah, it will merge. Like, it doesn't make sense to have two separate roles for these.
Okay, so I have a last question. Speak about future. Where do you think search is heading in the next few years? And what will visibility meet in the age of AI assistance?
Yeah, I think the first big shift is we will see fewer and fewer traditional web search engines, fewer and fewer lists of links, more AI answers. Just yesterday, I think Google made a change in the US where when you use an AI overview, that is the AI answer above the normal links, if you click on more or something, I don't know exactly right now what the button says, basically you are immediately taken to the AI mode from Google, where you then have only AI results. It's like a chat. There's no more list of these blue links. So this is going to happen more and more and more. And the other shift are, of course, the AI agents that you mentioned, where instead of performing individual searches, asking individual prompts, I might just say, plan my vacation in, I don't know, some place I want to go, Mallorca. And then I don't need to prompt anymore. What is a good romantic hotel to stay with my wife? What is a good flight we should take? Which airlines are the most reliable? Which airport should I fly to? Like, you don't ask these individual things anymore. You just tell an agent to organize everything for you. And that agent will then either use websites or APIs or MCPs or use other agents via A2A or similar protocols to get everything done for you. And that, of course, will be another evolution of this space. And I think then visibility is still important because every single step of the journey you can measure. But then maybe it's no longer about simulating a user using an LLM. Maybe then it will be about simulating an AI agent using an MCP server. And the fundamentals will be the same, right? It's about understanding the funnel, understanding the individual steps of the funnel, the different personas, and then monitoring for that, reporting for that, giving optimization. So as an abstract framework, it all kind of stays the same. But of course, the individual actions you need to take, they will be fundamentally different.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and at the end of our interview, maybe you could recommend something for entrepreneurs and founders, what they should do today, maybe if they want to know a bit more about how AI search works today, maybe they could learn something new about how to make right prompt, how to check visibility and so on. Maybe you can give some recommendations for entrepreneurs and founders, how to work, how to organize website today in the era of AI search.
Yeah, so my advice would be check your web analytics if you already get clicks from LLMs. If you have a B2B business or some sign-up heavy business, ask consumers or customers where they heard about you. You might be surprised how many already say ChatGPT. Describe your own offering consistently across the internet. Put some prompts into LLMs. Just see, do you show up? What are the sources? Follow me on LinkedIn, because whenever I have insights, I share them there. And go to peec.ai, peec.ai, sign up for a free trial, and we can show you a first visibility of your current market.
Okay, super. Thank you so much for your insights today. And I also can recommend Malte blog. He has a huge amount of subscribers on LinkedIn. Maybe not only LinkedIn. Do you have other?
It used to be primarily Twitter or X in the past, but right now LinkedIn is my number one.
Okay, LinkedIn. Platform. If you want to know a bit more about this topic, about how LLM-based system works today and how to be visible in the age of AI, you can subscribe Malte LinkedIn, and you can know more about this topic. And for everyone watching, thank you so much for being here. And you can put in the comments what you use more often today, ChatGPT or Google. And see you in the next episodes of BerlinBiz.